you're actively watching the game is what you're saying. You got it on mute in the
Right, you're gonna be
background.
like looking down every couple minutes. Yeah.
That's what I feel like most people would assume I was doing, but no, it's in another room on mute. So afterwards, when it's over, I can run over to the other room, see what the score is. But now I got to give y'all my undivided attention. I can't be watching the game in the corner.
Respect.
But welcome, listeners, to the next episode of the Banquet Hall podcast. This is a very special episode. I'm being joined by two guests at once, and I'm looking forward, one, to seeing the handshake. Oh, the visual listeners, they got a treat, a little handshake going there. But welcoming De'Von and Sinclair to the podcast. How are y'all doing today?
Thank you, King. We are blessed, highly favored, had what we call $1 million day. Doesn't mean we actually made $1 million today. Don't come for us. But we had, what we would consider $1 million day. How you doing, Queen?
I'm good. It was a very productive day. Like at some point I was like, hey, we got a lot of stuff done. It's only 11 a.m. Come on.
Right.
Come on, us. Yeah, doing well.
$1 million day. I haven't heard anyone refer to their day as $1 million day. So talk to me a little bit more about what makes up $1 million day. And are there also $1,000 days? How does that work?
Oh, there are for sure $1,000 days. There are for sure $1,000.
There are $10 days.
Dollar Tree days.
That's it,
man. But for us, and I'll speak for myself specifically, and Queen, if you have a different remix definition, feel free to sprinkle it in. But when we see ourselves as millionaires, there's just a certain, I think, shout out to the Melanated Melanated
tongue twister.
Millionaires in the making. I was the one who used to struggle.
One more time.
Marinated.
Marinated too.
Melanated Married Millionaires in the making.
Boom. I feel like there's a certain level of work ethic that comes with that. There's a certain level of execution that goes with that, and just having a list and getting those things done. It can be the most basic list. It can be, I'm doing laundry, I'm cleaning my office, I'm cleaning my car, and I'm gonna call my mom. If you did everything on that list, hey, that's $1 million day because you did what you said you're gonna do. And one day you're going to put action items on that list that are actually going to make you $1 million. Now, for us, it was a lot of sales calls today, calling folks, high schools, middle schools, trying to get Play Black Wall Street into their curriculum, trying to get speaking engagements for Black History Month. We got new IDs today. We went grocery shopping with some nice healthy food, and we shopped at Sprouts, so it was $1 million day.
Went to the gym
in the morning. First thing. So yeah, there was just a lot of activity, a lot of execution.
And I feel like it's not about, again, like we made $1 million today. It's not yet. It's about the habit of like, what are the habits of a millionaire? And did I do those habits today? Right. Reading, walking, working out, right? Like you said, calling your mom, right? Whatever to you, whatever those habits are, when you imagine yourself as a millionaire, doing those on a daily basis will get you your $1 million days.
For sure.
Hey, from where I sit, I think y'all might be selling y'all days short. I mean, I heard Sprouts, I heard going to the gym. I think by the end of this episode, we're gonna call it $1 billion day. That's my declaration for today.
Man, do it. $1 billion days. I'm not against it at all. At all. February is gonna be a bunch of $1 billion days, to be honest with you.
Facts.
The way it's lining up right now. Woo, manifest, Kyler.
Hey, I got the manifestation over here. We speaking that into existence. We're gonna need a new shirt for the $1 billion days. I don't know what kind of tongue twister we're gonna have with the $1 billion days.
Billion.
But I always like to start these episodes with getting to know a little bit about where our guests are from. I have a lot of love for my hometown, and I like to give people an opportunity to shout out their hometown. So Sinclair, why don't we start with you? Like, where are you from, and what does that mean for you?
I am from Riverside, California. Literally grew up like 15 minutes away from where we are right now in Moreno Valley. And what that means to me, I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like, at least like when I went to, don't give me that look. I feel like when
what you're about to say, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's always an interesting start.
I made friends with a lot of people from LA. And so when I moved to, I was born and raised in the Inland Empire. And then when I went to Davis, we met at UC Davis. I just literally looked around, and everybody that I was around was from LA, and everybody kept hating on Riverside. Like, there's nothing to do. I.e. So I feel like I developed a strong sense of pride after that. So I'm just like, I'm not going to mess around on my hometown. I love Riverside. It's a nice place to raise a family. I always say the best thing about Riverside is that you are close to whatever you want to do, but you don't have to live in the hustle and bustle. You don't have the downtown LA feel, but you have 45 minutes away till the beaches. You got Big Bear, which is 45 minutes away. You got LA, which is 45 minutes away. You got San Diego, which is 45 minutes away. Everything's just a 45-minute drive.
I feel like that 45 might be a little generous on that 91, depending on what day we talking.
Without traffic. Without traffic.
Hey, I got a rep for my city, I told you, and I feel like, yeah, that 45 minutes, you might be pushing it a little bit, but I'll give Riverside a shine. I know a lot of dope people from Riverside, so shout out to all of our listeners from the Inland Empire.
Oh yeah, San Diego's a lot of love out there. We spent some good time in San Diego. I've had a lot of good times in Oceanside, San Diego, Escondido, all that whole area.
Love San Diego.
Oh yeah.
De'Von, what about you? Where are you from?
So I'm from a lot of different places. I've spent most of my life in the San Fernando Valley around the Canoga Park area, Winnetka area. Spent a little bit of my life in Tarzana for elementary school. Lived in Seattle for I think a year or 2 years when I was younger. Was born in Inglewood. Just so for what that means to me is I'm very adaptable. Lived in a lot of different places. Lived in Santa Barbara. Lived in Carpinteria. Lived in Port Hueneme with the Queen, Davis, Moreno Valley, the San Fernando Valley. So yeah, I feel like I'm pretty adaptable, but I don't have a comfortable place that I will like, this is home yet. That's why I am excited about our next stage and like being in Riverside, having our family set down our roots, because then Riverside will become home. And all you remember, I used to say, I can't wait to find like our usual donut spot, our usual restaurant spot. Just like, I'm the type of person, I like my routine. I like my habits, Kyler. So it's like, once I find that restaurant, that donut shop, that food spot, that gym, like I'm the person that go in there, knows all the names, knows the hours, brings people stuff for Christmas. And like,
it's special things, not
special
on the menu
and stuff. Yeah, that's just the type of swag that I have. So I look forward to putting down some nice deep roots and trees out here in Riverside.
Well, that's beautiful. I like the finding your routine donut shop. I feel like y'all gonna have me in my feelings by the end of this podcast if we talk about y'all's relationship too much. But I know that De'Von, anytime I've heard you talk about Sinclair, it's always queen. I've never, and I'm not. I promise he didn't pay me to say this.
You're like I've to say that this week.
Like fourth, bro. Everyone says that.
Nah, it's true. I've never heard him not refer to you as queen, like the queen, his queen. Like you can search my text messages. It'll be queen. So it's great to be able to finally meet you on the podcast, I will say. And I'm happy that I'm not the only person that have said that this week.
Yeah.
No, literally almost like every other person I think I meet that's at least affiliated with him on the work side is like, I'm sorry, I don't actually know your name. I only know you as queen. I'm like, that's totally fine. I'm not mad at that at all.
Oh yeah, and I'll cash app you that $50 later, Kyler.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. But no, that's a true statement, because when I was preparing for this podcast, I found out how to spell your name by looking at the about section on playblackwallstreet.com, because I only knew you as Queen. But you mentioned that y'all met at UC Davis, so I want to hear a little tidbit, or as much as you want to share, about how y'all met and just like where your relationship has gone. Not the whole, you're not going to give us the whole story of how far y'all have evolved from UC Davis to now, but just looking back at when y'all met and where y'all are now.
Oh yeah. Oh, you looking at me? So I'm gonna give my version of the story.
Go ahead.
All right, cool. So basically, we were in this program called
Linda Francis Alexander.
LFA, Linda Francis Alexander Scholars Program, similar to a EOPS or a STEP program where you come in a month before. For us, it was a week before. Moved inside the dorms. Of course, we lived on the African American theme hall at UC Davis. Shout out to all my C2 alumni in the building. You know what I'm saying? And we did like a icebreaker first day, right? And on the icebreaker, they had you find somebody, and you played like a bingo game where you ask all types of questions: where you from, what's your hobby, favorite food, major, stuff like that. So they're like, all right, y'all, get up and find a partner. Now, you know what I'm saying, Kyler, I had already scoped out this beautiful,
done the pre-work,
intelligent, melanated queen right here. I did my homework, and, you know, there was a group of us. We were all talking, and I was like, yeah, you know, I think I'm going to go ahead and talk to that young female right there. Didn't know your name at that point. But she got up to see who's going to be her partner. She looked all confused. Oh, I don't know who I'm going to pick. Where am I going? And I was on a mission. I got up, I looked directly at her, started walking beeline right towards her. And I was like, hey, let's be partners. And then the rest is pretty much history from there. There's, a few details we can go into after that.
I'll get into the details.
Here we go.
Boyfriend at the time. That's the detail.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I made that very clear that I wasn't necessarily looking. He didn't care. And he was like, you're going to be my girlfriend. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Well, we'll see about that.
Manifest.
Yeah. 3 months later, there we were dating. But yeah, that's the detail he's referred to. But yeah, we pretty much, so that program was in September. By the end of December 23rd, we were dating, and yeah, I mean, the rest is history. We've been together now for is it 11 or 12?
It's 11.
11
It's
years.
going to be 12 this December coming up.
Yeah.
So dating 11 years, give or take, and married for 3.5. Boom.
Hey, well, congratulations. We love seeing Black love on the podcast.
Thank you.
And I think that's a testament to your ability to manifest too. I mean, we talked about manifesting $1 billion day. You manifested y'all's relationship. You did the pre-work, and I think that might be the theme of the episode, of just that manifestation.
For sure, and pushing past perceived barriers, because I think, and I say this in a respectful way, that she had her boyfriend, but in my head, in the future, she was still my girlfriend, still my wife, still mother of my children. Even like earlier on in that time, like I still had that type of vision where it's like, no, I see my life with you. And although I was shooting my shots, I was still I was tiptoeing on the line. I never crossed over any huge disrespectful lines. But I feel like in life all the time, there's all types of barriers to what we want in our dreams, whether it's starting that business, writing that poetry book, right? Because we know kind of got bars, starting that podcast, starting a health coaching company. There's always barriers that get in the way, but are you willing to stay consistent and persistent and push past those barriers?
That he was consistent, persistent, corniest lines, man. But I mean, they worked. So
they always do in the rom-com. So why would I not use a corny line?
You're right. I mean,
listen, I don't know a rom-com where the smooth brother wins. Think about it.
We might have to say that for the dating episode, but that's a good question.
Is there a rom-com where, because Love Jones, he lost?
Because the smooth brother is always an a-hole.
Boom.
Hey, you said it better than me. Boom.
Y'all better keep using these corny lines.
Was there a corny line that stood out, or what's the gem corny line?
Go ahead. There's two. There's two. You can say both, Sinclair.
I don't know exactly which two he's talking about, but I know one of them for sure is I was wearing a dress that had flowers on it. It was a black dress with flowers on it. And we were on the same floor. So he was all of like 3 doors down.
This was downstairs. We were coming home from Dr. Eldridge's house.
The fact that you remember.
Of course I remember.
You've worn that dress to Dr. Eldridge's.
You can check the picture. There's a picture with me, you, and Corey. You're standing in the middle with the dress on.
The dress.
Okay.
I still have the dress to cover up. Anyways, maybe I'm getting confused. But long story short, I knew which dress you're talking about too. I had a floral dress on. And in long story short, he looks at me and he goes, man, I wish I was a bee right now. Buzz. I was like.
And what I want y'all to take note on, fellas, is that it's been 10 years since I said that line. And she still remembers. She still smiles like she's 17, 18 years old. Well, she was 17 back then. But she still smiles. Look at that. 10 years, Kyler.
Because it was like corny, like past the spectrum. It was just like, wow, did he really said it? And like full-fledged, like not with any hesitation.
None.
I think that's what I liked about it, is that he just had no, like he was just fully himself and he didn't really care. And I was just like, dang, this guy is he's corny, but he's funny and he's cool. But was the other one you're talking about chocolate?
Of course.
Okay,
there's two. Yeah. There's two that are just right here on the frontal lobe.
So our first official date, we went to a Mexican restaurant.
Tres semanas.
Shout out. We ordered some food. And so we're sitting there, mind you, we're already friends. So, but we're just like, okay, let's get to know each other on this level now. And so we're sitting there, and he's like, so, and, he does a little like lick his lips, do the nose thing, like, you about to come with something real smooth afterwards. Fire. Tell he was filming. He's like, so, you like chocolate? Anybody who knows me knows that answer. And I was like, no, not really. And I just looked at him, and his face went from like the most confident, like to like blank, and he was just like, I didn't actually have a plan B. Like I didn't.
Yeah, that wasn't in the script.
I'm gonna say yes. And I just started busting up laughing because I was just like, yeah, you didn't plan for that, dude. Like, and he doesn't like chocolate either. That was the funniest part. It was like, yeah, that just had me laughing so hard because he didn't try to like come up with another line, or he was just truly like, okay, well, that's all I got. And that is what made the line iconic.
Once again, Kyler, 10 years later, still smiling.
Hey, I wrote it down on the little notepad I got right here. I'm gonna be put on game. I think our listeners, y'all tuned in to hear about Play Black Wall Street, but y'all getting solid dating advice, it looks like. And we only at the beginning of the episode, so I'm excited.
Listen, a majority of millionaires out there are married. So if you're interested in being a millionaire, finding your loved one is actually a great step. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, I'm here for it. I want to transition briefly to talk about how we met, De'Von. I mentioned that Sinclair and we literally met, I think, 25 minutes ago on this very Zoom call.
Literally.
Oh, but De'Von and I go back like full flats on the Cadillac to really our days in admissions. I remember my first engagement with you was at the NACAC College Fair in Atlanta, Georgia. And I just remember I was sitting next to the table and De'Von was spitting game at these students about coming to UC Riverside.
Oh, I was trying to get her, and they was not having it from Atlanta. They was like, nah, it's way too expensive, bro. I'm not going to Cali.
But I just remember listening to how you was talking to the students. I'm like, oh, he's a salesman. Like he is a businessman. I was like, let me get deeper in my bag, because the way you was talking about the school and whatnot, I was like, man, have I been to that campus? Like,
are we talking about the same?
Right. Can I go back?
Right, because I mean, everything relative when you're in a whole nother state. I just remember you said something like, oh yeah, like we not that far from the beach. I was like, y'all not that far from the beach.
All relative.
Oh, not too far from LA. You want to go to Disneyland? We got Disneyland right there.
Yeah, I was at my table looking like, hey, I'm not trying to cramp your style, but he lying to y'all.
Are you like cat?
Right, I wanted to call cat because I'm talking about San Diego. We actually close to the beach. So I'm like, oh, y'all think they close to the beach? We're close to the beach. But I just remember afterward just dapping you up, and you was just the coolest person I ever met. It was like, oh, this is brother De'Von, like spitting game. And when you in admissions life, like you just sitting at the table talking to a bunch of kids answering the same question over and over and over again. So I think it's always amazing when you make a connection with somebody else who's doing similar work as you. And I thought that friendship would have just ended at the admissions table, but here we are now.
Look at that. What, 4 years later? 5 years later? Sheesh. No, that's 5. Yeah. Atlanta.
Yeah, it's 5.
That's wild.
Shout out to friendships.
Shout out to friendships. And I remember one of the first, I think, events that I came to that you hosted in San Diego. It was in the Southeast. You had like a nice poetry slam set up. You had art vendors set up. Yeah, it was just a dope vibe, right? To see, because I'm always the community person, but it was a dope vibe to be like someone else who's not only working these long 9 to 5 days in admission, because those days were long, but has the energy, has the passion to go out after their 9 to 5 and still be in the community doing that work. So yeah, of course we stay connected.
Yeah, absolutely. And the open mic he's talking about is Black expression. I remember you came to that, and like you said, you love the community, and you got up on the mic. I was able to get you up on the mic. I think you wrote something on like a little notepad. He was spitting bars that night.
Quick, something about Black Wall Street. I couldn't literally. I wrote it right there.
Wow.
During the thing. Come on.
Impressive.
Thank you, Queen. You know, I try to do what I can. You know, some. Love Jones. the winning edition.
There you go.
I love it. Audio listeners, if y'all haven't already, I highly suggest hopping over to YouTube or Spotify, looking at the video, just so you can see the facial reactions that I'm seeing, because I think, De'Von, you have like a very expressive face right now, and it's adding to the humor of the episode a lot. So make sure that y'all get an audio and visual this evening.
Oh yeah, full holistic experience. Go ahead and hop over. Spotify got video?
Yeah, you can upload a video episode to Spotify.
Oh, yeah, we can. Okay.
You're learning new things every day.
Yeah.
Huh.
I feel like I did. So we used to be on Anchor for our podcast. We just switched over to Buzzsprout. So I need to check if we're able to do that from Buzzsprout. But Anchor was rocking with us with the videos.
Yeah, that's why I published through his Anchor right now. So, but while we're on the topic of podcasts, might as well let the listeners in on what y'all doing with y'all's podcast. So talk to me a little bit about the podcast that y'all do.
Queen, you feeling good about this one?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, I am wearing the shirt.
Come on.
So we host the Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making, aka the M4 show. Every week we got different episodes, and we're really just talking about building generational wealth as a family unit, and as a married couple, and what that means. Talk about mindset. We talk about wellness. We talk about
real estate investing.
Life insurance,
intellectual property, business structures.
Trying to get an expert on trusts on the podcast. So just a well-rounded, trying to be a resource for everybody who's like us, like there's so many folks out there that are trying to take their families to the next level. And so many folks who are trying to be first generation millionaires. And so if we're all on the same path, we're all on the same journey, like let's document our journey. Let's help other folks, take them along with us, because nobody wants to get to the top and be the only ones there.
Nah.
So we're trying to create that tribe, that village, that community of folks who can not only, achieve that millionaire status, but also just be able to pass that down to the future generations and do it as a group, so we can live life together.
Oh yeah. Can I sprinkle something? Yeah,
please.
Go ahead, sprinkle.
So what percentage of Black America would you think is married, Kyler?
Ooh, what percentage of Black America do I think is married?
Yeah, if you had a guess based on your experience, your friends, or an educated guess, what percent of Black America would you say is married?
I would say 38%.
Ooh, your boy's good. Your boy is good. 31% of Black Americans are married. 50% have never been married. And although Black Americans make up 13% of the population in the United States, we only make up 2% of the millionaires, Black families, right? So when we think about how can we make a small difference in the community, it's literally one, supporting Black love and promoting Black love on a consistent basis, right? We like to be able to put our relationship kind of on a spotlight a little bit, just to talk about relationships. We bring married couples on, some with businesses, some without businesses, who are then again able to just talk through their experience as a married couple, why they got married, what helps them stay happily married, and also talking about how do you secure the bag, how do you build wealth within your community, within your family, and then how do you pass down that wealth to your kids. So again, like the Queen said, we're just trying to be that go-to source for Black families that are trying to, or that are building wealth.
I love that. I was going to ask what makes your podcast different than other podcasts trying to get Black millionaires, but I think that answer really encompasses it, because I don't hear a lot of people talking about the family aspect or the relationship aspect of it. I feel like with a lot of Black millionaire thing that I see, there's a lot of individualism in that, but I think the we is so important, because like Sinclair said, when you get to the top and you look around, it's just you up there. Like, was it worth it? Like, what does that mean?
One of the biggest things that we talk about consistently is balance, actually, in the relationship. Like specifically for couples that have a business together, how do you balance the relationship versus balancing the business? Who plays what role in the business? And then we also talk a lot about just balance in the marriage period, and how much do you grind and work, and whoever's the breadwinner, versus how much do you go on vacation, get the massages, and just love on each other. And then we're also still very corny. So that's another thing that makes our podcast. It's like, we're going to give you those gems. We're going to give you the game. You're going to learn. But at the end of the day, we are corny people, and we're us on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I think that when you're going on any journey, right, you reach those obstacles. And I think what we've both definitely experienced is hitting those obstacles and then being kind of nudged along by the other person. We both have we literally just talked about this the other day, where it's like I think you asked the question, like, do we ever not believe in the other person?
Ben asked that.
Ben, yeah, he asked that. And the answer was no. But we both have had situations where we didn't believe in ourselves, but the other person did, and that helped us along the way, right? It's like their belief, his belief in me helped me keep going in this journey, because there was a time where I was, the imposter syndrome, right? Where I maybe was questioning myself for a little bit, not fully believing in that I could do all the things that I wanted to do. But he was like, girl, you're tripping. Like you're this amazing person, right? So I think it helps having that person in your corner to believe in you when you start to doubt yourself, because that's inevitable. I think if you ever waver in your doubt of yourself, then hey, more power to you. But I think the average person does hit those roads where it's like, dang, can I do this? And I think having that person that is literally living with you, right, knows you so well, is so helpful to have that person to just nudge you and like, let's talk about your insecurities, like, because sometimes we don't realize how irrational they are. And to actually have somebody to talk through that, like, dang, you're right, I really am tripping. Like I really am, just having this, it's all in my head. And so I think it's really, really, really helpful. The married aspect, the having a partner, is very helpful, I think, in the road to becoming a millionaire, the road to, gaining generational wealth, the road to just accomplish any goal that you set out to. I think it's so much easier when you have somebody to do it with.
Hey, y'all sold me. Why don't you give the podcast one more quick plug, where folks can find it? What's it called? I want to give out too much free game on my podcast. They need to tune into y'all's to hear the rest of the story.
Hey.
Respect. Well, if you are interested in tapping into the Melanated Married Millionaires in the making show, you can head to
them4show.com.
That is THEM, the number 4 SHOW.com, the M4show.com. Live episodes every single week, over 146 available for you to consume and invest your time in today. We'll see you there.
That was good.
Thank you.
That was good.
Make it a
right. Chop that up, make it a reel, make it some content. Name of the game.
Hey, that is the name of the game, and that sounded perfect to me. So you'll definitely be able to get that little snippet from the podcast. But let's transition to talk about Play Black Wall Street. I think we talked a lot about kind of what it means to be in business with your partner and just the foundation of y'all's relationship, which I know De'Von, you explicitly said this, but it's all over the marketing. It's all over the website. Like, I think that y'all's relationship is such a core piece of all of the beautiful work that y'all do for Play Black Wall Street, for community. To the point where I thought I knew Sinclair like prior to even starting this podcast, just because of how like together I think your whole brand is. So why don't you talk a little bit about the origins of Play Black Wall Street and the origins of that idea?
Yeah. Do you want us to give you all the sunshine and rainbows, or should we go through some of the storms, bumps in the road? What you want?
Give me the true, authentic version of the story.
Y'all buckle up. So the first business that we actually started was called TH4, True Health Forever. And we started that, kind of got birthed out of college. We were going into our health journeys. I think we went vegetarian for the first time, and then we're like, oh, that's too hard. Let's just go no beef or pescatarian. But leaving college, we were still like, we want to start forming those healthy habits now, so that when we do get married, when we do have kids, there's a culture of health, right? So leaving college, that's what we were doing. And the first business that we started was called True Health Forever. It had 4 pillars, Kyler: economic health, physical health, spiritual health, and social health, right? So, we had our website popping, you know what I'm saying? We had the YouTube channel with terrible videos popping, we had the Instagrams with the terrible pictures on there. Just everything was just so 2016 when I look back at it. But our first physical product that actually came to life was Black Wall Street, the board game, right? We got the first edition right here. And it came about because I worked this summer camp. It's called the Village Nation Uni Camp up in Big Bear, co-hosted by UCLA. And in that camp, basically everyone has to come up with a camper name. Long story short, the camper name that I chose to use as a counselor was Black Wall Street, because I learned about it in AAS class, AAS 10, with Dr. Andrea Smith-Moore. Shout out. And yeah, I just love the concept, love the power of what Black Wall Street represented. None of these students knew what Black Wall Street was, Kyler. Literally none of them. So leaving the camp, I was like, all right, how can we figure out a way to teach them this history? Because I feel like it's history that people should know, that specifically Black students should know. I called up the Queen. I was like, Queen, I want to make a board game based on the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street. She was like, brilliant. So brilliant, it probably already exists. I was like, you might be right. Hopped on the Google, hopped on the internet. Yeah, hopped on the Google.
The Google.
No, I'm born in the 90s. Hopped on the Google. And yeah, unfortunately, all of the Black Monopoly type games that we were seeing on the internet were like stereotype based, drugs, baby mama drama, jail, just a lot of stuff that I felt like, may appear in the community, but isn't in the fabric of our identity and our culture, and shouldn't be something that we perpetuate. Right. So I was like, this ain't it. Let's read some more books. Right. Let's watch some more documentaries, and let's take the real history. Let's take the essence of Black excellence that Tulsa Black Wall Street represented. Let's take real financial terms and make an actual educational game from this history. So that's kind of where the idea came from. If you got business questions on the ups and downs, we can get into that, but that's the idea. I feel like I talked too much. I'm gonna stop there.
That was relatively succinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was way more succinct. I was ready to just sit here for like 10 more minutes.
Oh, come on. Well, yeah, if you got, I can keep going on the story, but I didn't. It felt like I was talking for a while, but I can keep going.
Tell them about or I can tell them about the Kickstarter.
Go ahead, cool.
Yeah, let's talk about the Kickstarter. I feel like that's where I got introduced to play Black Wall Street.
Dude, I could try to tell it like you tell it, or
Right.
yeah, I can let you tell it.
Tell it the way. This is entertaining for me. Tell it the way. Why not? Tell it the way I would say it. Feel free to use a deep voice as well.
I can't even go close to your voice. No. Your voice is so deep. All right, so I can't even sustain it. So no, I can't. I'm not even gonna be able to.
I thought that was good. I
felt like I was gonna choke. I'm not gonna lie to you.
You got it.
So we were trying to figure out how are we going to fund our first round of games. Anybody who tried to create a product, there was no drop shipping available for a board game,
custom board game,
right? No, so you have to go the route of mass producing them. And so we were trying to figure out where we were going to do that. And I say we, this was really truly him at this point. I was just consulting, helping out with the tasks that he needed me to do, like the rule book, but he was trying to figure out how we're going to fund this board game. So we heard of Kickstarter. We wanted to try the Kickstarter, and Kickstarter is, if you don't know about Kickstarter, it's you set a goal, and if you don't reach the goal, if you reach it, you get everything. If you don't reach it, you get zero. And so it's different than some of the other platforms. I don't even know why we ended up going with it now that I think about it, but
we went with Kickstarter because games traditionally have a good success rate on Kickstarter. Kickstarter is really good for games specifically.
I see. That's why. But we set the goal $25,000. When I tell you, I shouldn't jump ahead. That was the goal, $25,000. At the same time, he was also listening to Dame Dash, right? So Dame Dash is Dame Dash, and he was talking about, if you real, you ain't got to market.
Talk that talk.
If you real, you just got to put it out there and everybody will come to you.
Tell them.
So he was like, I'm real. I don't got to market. All I got to do is put the game out there and everybody going to come and support it.
Oh,
false.
Man, so false.
So false. So we made this beautiful board game, got the Kickstarter up, and we made like $4,000. So we got none of that. It all got refunded, went back to everybody, and he almost quit. He almost quit and was like, well, I guess this wasn't a good idea. But, we talked through it. We decided to basically fund it ourselves. And so we put up the little money we had and funded the first round of 250 games. We just went with kind of a smaller quantity to get started. So we funded the first round of 250 games and sold out within 3 months?
Yep.
Yeah, sold out within 3 months. And so, I think that was I think a lesson on you gotta really market. That was like the biggest lesson, a really tough lesson to learn on marketing. And when we think about it, I think if we think back to it, had we been successful, I don't think we would have ever known how to market.
No.
Because it was just like the first thing we did, right? We just got $25,000 and now we get to get all these games. So I think that was a good lesson for us that we're still learning on how to write, how to market, how to define the product, how to get the right message. All of these lessons that he now teaches, other folks on how to start their businesses, because we learned it throughout all of these obstacles throughout these years. So how to get clear on your message and who you're talking to. How do you reach them? Your customer avatar, all these.
Talk that talk. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, Queen.
But yeah, all those things that really make it clear on who your audience is. And I think that's what we were not clear on Kickstarter, of course, without any marketing. You put something out called Black Wall Street and nobody knows what Black Wall Street is, they're not going to connect with it. So yeah, that's one of the first obstacles we went through.
Yeah, well done. See,
thank you.
Yeah, I think that was excellent. I think also, as I was preparing for this podcast and I was thinking of questions to ask y'all and where I wanted to go with the conversation, I started to think back to when I would see the Kickstarter and the first edition of Play Black Wall Street. And especially I think now, with hindsight being 2020, and now that I've just recently finished my MBA, I see the business process.
Come on.
Yeah, of course.
Not gonna just buy
right.
that's not a big thing.
You're right. I got to treat every episode like it's the first time I'm saying it. But yes, Master Kyler. But just thinking back about business plans and iteration, and just remembering seeing De'Von post about the process, post about the Kickstarter. I'm a proud owner of the first edition of Play Black Wall Street. I still got that thing in the plastic because I was like, nah, this is going to be huge. So I needed to make sure I got the first edition, second edition, and what is it? The Ultimate Edition, Premium Edition? Masterpiece Edition.
The ultimate.
Yeah, the black box.
Yeah, the masterpiece. The ultimate. Yeah, we got to work on that.
No, that's the next one.
Hey, well, Masterpiece, Ultimate Edition. I think the game is beautiful. And I'm definitely not opening the Masterpiece Edition. That one just it's never going to see the light of day.
Smart move. Literally, some of my one of my students. I don't know if you knew them. Her name was Wahida. She's a teacher, but she took a trip on the Underground Railroad passage. Shout out to Hardy Brown that takes folks out there every single year. And they went to a museum in Detroit, and they had the second edition of Black Wall Street, the board game, inside of the museum.
We didn't know this.
Yeah, we didn't know. So I don't know if they bought it from us at some point or they bought it secondhand from someone else, but it's inside the museum. When you go to the museum in Tulsa, in Greenwood, you see our name on there as well. Play Black Wall Street as one of the donors, and they give out the games, or they used to. They probably ran out by now. Give out the game to people who come. And then I have another friend out in Atlanta who also has a growing museum. He has the first edition. No. I sent him the second edition and the Masterpiece edition to put Eric to put in his museum. So it's just crazy to think about. It's already a part of African American history of Black kids that's in these museums. So yeah, if you have the first edition, definitely don't open that. Definitely keep it tucked. You have the Masterpiece edition. Definitely don't open that. Only 3,000 will ever be made because we have license agreements with the artist. So it's dope. It's dope.
Yeah, that's really dope. But I wanted to hear you talk a little bit about what that process was like, iterating the different editions of Play Black Wall Street, because I think that a lot of times for first-time business owners or people who have an idea, they want to come out with a perfect version of the idea that's going to be the one that makes them a millionaire. So I want to hear a little bit about that journey from the idea of Play Black Wall Street to the final version of the game, to the second edition of the game.
Oh, yeah. So we started off with our MVP. All right, we teach this in our class, minimum viable product, MVP. And our MVP was literally a cutout U-Haul box in the shape of a circle, right? Because at first we were thinking unity, Black Wall Street. We wanted to be in a circle to represent that unity. So boom, cardboard box shaped out in a circle, and a Sharpie marker to draw out all of the pieces on the board.
And thumbtacks for pieces.
And thumbtacks for the pawns. We used PowerPoint for like the draw cards, and then we stole dice from this small game called Monopoly. We were like, Monopoly don't need them dice. Let's take
Don't nobody play that.
Don't play Monopoly no more. Play Black Wall Street. Come on now. So that was the first iteration of it. We played that. It worked. We're like, okay, this concept can work. We then elevated just a little bit. I did a little promotion. Still Circle. Went to Walmart. Where we go?
Oh, you go to Walmart.
You go to Walmart. Told you, coordinates. This is us. But it got a printout from Walmart, so it was nice and laminated and stuff. Still the same pieces, still thumbtacks, still PowerPoint, still the dice from Monopoly. So then again, we're like, all right, this works. But I can't draw it, Kyler.
No, he can't.
It's not my gift. I don't draw well. All right. So I hooked up with my man Markel. He's a dope graphic artist, dope artist, period. And I was like, Kel, this is what I want to do. We're trying to make this board game, but it needs to live up to the legacy of Tulsa Black Wall Street. So this little cutout ain't gonna work. I need you to work your magic and make some nice graphic design, and we'll become partners within this board game. So that's why when you see the first edition of the game, you see his logo also on the board. Right? So you see the Rare logo, and then you see the True Health Forever logo, because back then, still True Health Forever. And then, of course, Black Wall Street, the board game. So from there, that's where we see the first iteration of a rectangle board. And it turned rectangle because we started talking to manufacturers, and they were like, yeah, bro, it's got to be kind of expensive to do a circle, because if we cut it out in a circle, there's a lot of wasted cardboard.
Can't do nothing with it.
Hadn't occurred to us before. We were like, we want a circle, unity, but they're like, yeah, that's not going to work for your budget. So we ended up going with a rectangle board. Got Markel's graphics on there. Reached out to the Tulsa Historic Society. Yeah, I think it's Tulsa Historic Society.
I don't know if it's society, but I don't remember what it is.
Reached out to them to get some pictures that we can use for the board that signify the history and the day in the life of Greenwood, Tulsa's Black Wall Street. Of course, did all the research on finding real businesses during that time, the color coding of the markets. And in case you haven't played the game, when you're going through it, there's real businesses around the board. Right, Sinclair, I know you know some of the businesses. Go ahead and flex a little bit. What's one business?
Madam CJ Walker's Beauty Salon. Uncle Steve's Barbecue. And Williams Dreamland Theater.
Boom. So those examples are of a few, right? Madam CJ Walker being in the hair industry. So we have Madam CJ Walker, Carter's Barbershop, Uncle Steve's Barbecue on there, example of a restaurant, Puff's Cafe, Gurley's Hotel, named after O.W. Gurley, one of the founders of Tulsa's Black Wall Street. So when you're going around, there's real businesses in real markets and industries. So yeah, that's how the first edition was created. We did get some good feedback. Oh no, let me backtrack. That's how the prototype was created, right? So the MVP was cardboard. Then we made 25 prototype games and gave that to some community members to get feedback. One of the best pieces of feedback that we got was what, Sinclair?
That was from the prototype?
That was from the prototype.
Oh. So it was color coded, similar to the other board games. Different markets, like the beauty salons, the restaurants, were all color coded. One was purple, one was blue, one was red. But we did not think about folks who are colorblind. And we had a family reach out and was like, I don't know what are the different markets. Like, I don't know which market I'm a part of. We can't tell the difference. And so we were like, oh, they're color coded. And we were like, oh, well, we're actually colorblind. We don't know the difference. And we were like, wow, never would have thought about that. Right. We have the blessing of being able to see colors, so we didn't think about that. But that's why that customer feedback is so important, and kind of getting the idea out there. If we had just made 3,000 copies of this, right, that would have been tragic. But getting that feedback, early on, allowed us to then create icons. So for the restaurants, I think it's the fork and knife crossing. For the beauty salon, it's a
pair of scissors.
Yeah. The restaurants have their own symbol. So as you're going around the board, not only do you know from the color now, but you also see the different symbols. So yeah, just those little things that help just elevate it.
Oh yeah. Huge nugget right there.
Yeah.
And then so that was the prototype. So from there, after we got the customer feedback, we made the rule book. which people never read, Kyler. We read the they never read that. Like for the first edition, I was getting so many text messages, phone calls. I'm pretty sure you might have called me at one point. I know Vern was calling me, Kari was calling, like everyone was calling me, like, how do you play? How do you play? I was like, we have a rule book, y'all. But anyway, I digress. So that's the first edition of the game. Second edition, we didn't change too much. We did change manufacturers, a little bit higher quality. Yes, I hold that one. You hold this one. So if you're watching the visuals, again, a quick plug, definitely go over to YouTube, tap into the visuals, because we doing our thing over here. It's awesome. Shout out to Kyler with that Laker shirt on. But the first edition has the one stripe in the middle, history, facts, nothing on the back, and Black Wall Street, the board game, on the sides. The second edition, model it for us, Sinclair. Yes.
We've got the 2 yellow stripes going down the middle. We've got the roadmap, the timeline of what actually occurred leading up to the creation of Black Wall Street, as well as what happened afterwards. And then the same Black Wall Street here with the 2 yellow stripes.
Oh, yeah. For us, one of the main kind of motivators for creating the game was a lot of people, when you talk about Black Wall Street, they only know about the bombing. They only know about the massacre and that it was destroyed, but they don't know about the 40 years of excellence before the massacre. They don't know about the 40 years of excellence after the massacre, before urban renewal. And there's a lot of lessons in history and entrepreneurs that you can learn from in that history. So that's why we have the roadmap dating back all the way from 1838 with the Trail of Tears, all the way through 1950 or 40 with urban renewal. And then inside of the second edition of the rule book, we wanted to beef up our educational swag in there, right? So the first edition has some key terms, which the Queen led. It has a few examples of like LLC structures and articles of incorporation, again, to give folks, if they're playing the game and they feel motivated, like, yeah, I want to start Madam Cheese at Walker Beauty Salon. Well, you can't start that because you don't own that intellectual property, but I want to start a business. Then it's like, cool, go to the rule book, and there's literally things that you can do in the rule book to get you started. We wanted to take that to the next level. So in the second edition of the game, there's literally a graphic on different intellectual properties, a graphic on different business structures. There's an activity in there that takes you through, okay, what's your business idea? Who's your audience? What's the problem you're solving? What's going to be your MVP? What's the product? What's the business model? So literally inside this rule book is $1 million worth of game that you get for $45 by buying Black Wall Street, the board game. So yeah, that's the second edition. Different manufacturer, higher quality, and a more keen focus on education. Because at this point, Kyler, we had also found out that our main customer base is homeschooling parents. Realized that, okay, parents are using this for education. We were like, okay, let's make this a all-in-one tool. We want you to be able to play this game, have fun in this game, and then also have activities you can do with your kids with this game, everything in one box.
Everything in one box for only $45, you're saying?
Only $45. And people tell us all the time, literally when we're tabling, that's it?
Right.
That's all. Oh, let me buy this right now. Yeah, I'll get it. So only $45. We're not going to increase the prices, y'all. $45 for the second edition. Now, it's a little bit of a different game, my brother, when we talking about this masterpiece.
Right? Oh, trust me, I know I paid for it.
Yes, you did, and we appreciate you. We appreciate it. Are we good to keep talking about the masterpiece? You let me know.
keep cooking.
Okay, we cooking. So, if you don't know, unfortunately, Tulsa's Black Wall Street was bombed, and there was a violent massacre. Over 600 businesses burned down to the ground. Countless people lost their lives. Very, very sad and very disheartening as an American citizen, right? This happened May 31st, June 1st, 1921. So in our heads, we started making the board games in 2017, right? This is 4 years before the 100th year commemoration of the massacre. So by that, we had in our head already, we wanted to do something special for 2021. So when we got to the year 2020, we were like, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do to make 2021 a standout year and do whatever we can to not only put more eyes on the legacy of Tulsa Black Wall Street, but really uplift Black excellence and the history? So we came up with the idea of, let's make a masterpiece. We want this, and I think that's the word that kept coming up. Like, we want it to be a masterpiece. We want it to be a work of art. So, and then we just ended up calling it the Masterpiece Edition. And with this game, if you're looking at the visuals, you see it, but if you're watching or listening on the audio experience, it's a all black box, pretty hefty. It's going to weigh about maybe 3-4 pounds. It has gold font and edges on it. You got Black Wall Street, the board game, along the box, and then it says real people, real businesses, and real possibilities, right? On the back, we have the gold map, and then a portrait as like a sneak peek. We have a portrait of O.W. Gurley, right? Again, noted as the founder of Tulsa's Black Wall Street. And inside of the rule book, inside of the rule book too, there's a whole gallery of different paintings that were commissioned specifically for this game. And on the beautiful board, it's a big square board. You play it in a circle. So we came back to our original idea. The board is square. I know you don't know because you haven't opened up your box, Kyler. The board is square.
I watch your videos. I know what it looks like.
Much love. But yeah, the board is square, but you move in a circle again to bring back that sense of unity that we wanted to do at the very beginning. And then on the board, instead of using pictures from Tulsa Historical Society, we actually got, again, paintings from the community. So we have a portrait of O.W. Gurley. We have someone else that did a portrait of Vice President Kamala Harris. We have a picture of Kobe Bryant. We have multiple pictures within one, like a montage of Chadwick Boseman. And then there's other like abstract stuff on there as well, all representing either Black excellence or the artist's vision of what Black Wall Street can be in the future.
There is a really cool futuristic one in there.
Oh yeah, that's done by PJ. That's my cousin right there.
Yeah.
Shout out to PJ. Come on, family. But yeah, we really wanted to, again, uplift the legacy of Tulsa Black Wall Street for the 100th year commemoration of the massacre. But also, how can we bring more people into this journey with us? How can we uplift other people's talents? And it's dope that we're still in communication with some of the artists that we work with for the Masterpiece Edition. We're working on future projects with some of those artists as well. So it was just dope. And it was a kind of a essence of Black Wall Street. Like, let's come together. Let's build this game together. Let's all use our talents to pay homage.
Wasn't there one of the artists that was like, oh, from that I got something else, and that kind of started my whole like...
Yeah, so Sherrod X, shout out to Sherrod X. He submitted, I think it was the Black Bayou. It's just a dope piece. And that piece got featured in multiple museums. So we have the original piece, but he's redone the piece. He's replicated it, I think, 2 or 3 times now, and it's been placed in different museums and different galleries. He just did a portrait of the 305 show, 805 show. What's that comedy show that has Carlos on it and the other dude? You know,
like yeah,
something South.
85 South show, is that it?
85 South show, yes. So he just did a portrait for them, and his portrait is on the background of their podcast set. And he was just like, you were my first like real jump back into art, and like my first big commission, and just thank you. And he's just, shout out to Sherrod, dope dude, very humble, and we're doing another partnership with him very soon. But yeah, it was just dope to again be able to uplift the legacy of Tulsa Black Wall Street while giving artists a platform and uplifting Black art. And then just giving a lot of value, a lot of game inside that rule book that everybody should read.
Thanks.
Everybody should read the rule book. So if you're listening to this podcast, we should start reading rule books, y'all. Like, let's before you ask the question, at least, because that's one of my pet peeves too. It's like, oh, how do you do this? I'm like, oh, did you read the 10-page manual with step-by-step instructions?
Because it's like we really tried to think about like what questions would someone have and put them in there. And yeah, then we still get, I promise you, we'll be like sitting at dinner some random day and somebody will call like, wait, what does this card mean?
It's like that card is literally inside the rule book. Why? Because 38,000 people asked that question. Oh man. But yeah, while I do joke about the calls, like it is like still refreshing when people call and they're like, oh, I'm playing the game right now, what do I do here? Or they text, I'm playing this, what do I do? It's still like, people are playing the game. Like it's actually out there and people are enjoying.
Yeah, they want to hear you say what the rule is though, because y'all made this game. It's like, nah, my homies made this. I be flexing on it all the time. They be like, oh, what game is that? It's like, oh, the homie made this. Like, your homie make board games? Like, yeah, you ain't got this game? What?
Let me know. Literally the other day, one of our friends, Bottle, was playing the game during New Year's Eve. They played for like 4 hours. Like it was a whole melee. And then he told his kids that he knew the creator and they didn't believe him. So then he called and it was New Year's Eve. So I didn't answer because I was doing New Year's Eve things. But and then like the next day, hey, you know, we like to have fun too. We talked about
balance.
Talked about balance. We were doing New Year's Eve things. But I called back the next day and then I talked to he had 9 kids, talked to all the kids. They had their own questions about the game and about business. And it gave me a lot of joy, a lot of energy, like from 4 years old to I think like 15 years old. And it was just dope to see and visualize an entire beautiful Black family on New Year's Eve just playing our game. Like it's dope. Still doesn't get old.
It's also really cool when we're in random spaces and like we'll have the game and somebody like will be like, oh, hey, I have that game. And like, I don't even know that they know that like he created the game.
They don't.
But they'll just be like, oh, I have that game. Like that part is really cool too. Because it's like, I don't know you, but somehow you know you have the game.
Yeah.
So that's I think that we probably really like that too, because it shows that our marketing is working.
Yeah.
That part.
Hey, we love affirmations of all the hard work that's going and being put into what you're doing, your craft. I think we've given a lot of free nuggets on this podcast about creating a business, the process, the bumps and bruises along the road. I want to make sure I save some of the wisdom for when they tune into y'all's podcast as well, because I know y'all got a lot cooking. Like there's a lot on the Play Black Wall Street website, because we didn't even talk about like the Black History Adventures of Rose and Rodney yet. Y'all got lessons that y'all doing, YouTube videos. So I want to encourage the listeners, one, to make sure y'all are supporting Play Black Wall Street. Check out the YouTube page, and we'll have space for y'all to plug that at the end of the episode. But one thing I really want to make sure that we talk about before we close out this episode, because so I'll just walk the listeners through what my day was like. So usually I wake up in the morning, check whatever notifications I missed, like, oh, who hit the buzzer beater last night? What news articles? What's the weather like? And so I saw this Bleacher Report notification, and it was like Jrue Holiday gifts, blah blah blah. I was like, I'll read that later. But then I was on Facebook and I see De'Von's post, and I was like, Jrue Holiday gets play. I was like, wait, what? And so I opened this article, and for those of y'all who don't watch hoops, I always be assuming everybody just know who Jrue Holiday is. Jrue Holiday is the point guard for the Milwaukee Bucks. And there was an article that I read where Jrue Holiday gifted Play Black Wall Street to every player in the National Basketball Association. And when I was reading the article, I was like, that's De'Von, right? Like, no, it says Sinclair, like, that's play. I have this game. And so I was like, yo, like, congratulations. I started sending people the article. I was like, yo, like, damn, the article, like, my friend did this. Like, that's dope. So I want to hear from both of y'all just what that was like, just the process of hearing about Jrue Holiday wanting to gift the games to NBA players, some of the press around it, the media publicity, just what was that like? Because for me, as a hoops head, like, I was like, oh, De'Von made it. I got to get him on. I got to get him on the Banquet Hall before he get too big for the little people.
Hey, if you got my number, never too big. But I let the queen tell a majority of this story because she did a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, so we were blessed with it started with the king applying for the grant for Jrue and Lauren Holiday's social impact fund. And so there's so many layers to this. He learned about it from a student of his, a past student of his, of Play Black Wall Street Academy, who started her own business. She's like 12 or something.
Yeah,
right?
She's 14 now.
14 now, but she was 12. Started her own business, and applied for this grant and got it. And she was like, hey, Mr. Walker, you should apply. So we were like, okay. So he applied, we got the grant. So we got $10,000, and there was so many other things that came with it. But long story short, the JLH, or the Jrue and Lauren Holiday Fund, they had a reunion for all of the businesses that they have supported within the Los Angeles area. And so he unfortunately had a meeting. So I went to represent us. And if you know, like, y'all can probably like, get from these energies. He's like the social one. Right. He's the social one. He's the people person, right? He's him. He's everything that you're getting from this. He is. Okay, so I'm like the behind the scenes, social timer is going to run out any minute now type of person. So I was very nervous to go and represent our company. This is really the first year that I'm really getting my hands dirty in the company. Like I said, it was kind of like, hey, can you write this rule book? Can you, support here and there? But this year is really the first year that I was like, oh, I'm in Play Black Wall Street. I got a role. We doing this. And so, yeah, to be like going to this event and representing us was super nerve wracking. But I walk up, and it was like one of those where in the circle you're gonna go around, and basically as soon as I walked up, it was my turn. And so I talk about Play Black Wall Street. I talk about how thankful I am and we are for the JLH fund. I had a game in hand, and I was like, I was so nervous that I finished talking, and I was like, okay, all right. And I realized I still had the game in my hand, and I was like, the other person was about to talk, and I was like, oh, wait, this game is for you. I bought this game for you. And they were like, we were wondering if you were going to give us the game. I was like, yeah, this is for you. So he was super excited, but everybody finished up. And so I went up to Jrue afterwards, and I was like, hey, just wanted to, again, thank you so much. I hope you all enjoy the game. I hope you win. I was the first person who won, so I hope you win.
She rubs that in every time.
I do.
I'm about to say subtle flex.
Like the first 4 times we played, I'm just saying. But
not the hair flip.
But he was just like, man, he's like, this I really like this game. And he's like, I was like, okay. I could tell he had like his wheels turning, like he was thinking something. So I'm just kind of standing there like, cool, well, yeah, thank you again so much. And he's like, so you got like a couple hundred of these? Like, you got a lot of these? And we were like, yeah, like we got a whole warehouse. They're definitely, we got a lot of them. And he's like, okay, I think I might want to like gift these to some people. And I was like, okay, for sure. Like whatever you want to do, we got it. And he's like, yeah, like maybe like my team. And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. Sure. Say less. I'm like instantly getting excited to when I get to call De'Von and be like, guess what? So we didn't like iron out all of the details there, but he was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna have somebody contact you. Me again being all nervous, I hand him a card. That man ain't going. I know he has people for that, but it was just like a natural thing to do.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, he had to contact us or whatever. So then we ended up talking to the people who run his fund, and they were like, yeah, so Jrue and Lauren Holiday want to purchase a board game for everybody in the NBA. And they were like, you have like 500 of those, right? And we were like, yeah, we do for y'all. Yeah, we have them.
It's like, we'll make them right now if you need me to.
Right. Say less. Right. So they're like, yeah, for Christmas, we want to send these out to all of the teams. And so it was a very obvious yes. I was super excited to have been, again, the person there to even receive that information. But yeah, after that, it was like, okay, how do we make this happen? Let's make it shake. And, there was a lot of other legwork that had to go into like creating the nice other graphics and things that were included in that package. But it was a really humbling experience to see like, wow, he thinks this is good enough to gift to all of the players in the NBA. That itself, like just the gesture of wanting to get a product meant so much. It was kind of crazy to think about like, wow, this same game that's on all our shelves that like created is about to be on the shelves, hopefully, the shelves or the shelf, the what called the bins or whatever of all of very high profile, like successful people out there. So yeah, that part has been pretty crazy.
Oh yeah. And I would say we literally had a time, and this is when I think we were putting in all the orders, and I think we were, no, they hadn't shipped yet, but we were just like, is our game really about to be in the NBA?
Right.
Like, it was just a very surreal moment. Like, again, coming from a failed Kickstarter, coming from struggling to get folks to see this as a valuable product, coming from being in an incubator program where venture capitalists were telling us that, folks wouldn't buy this game because it was Black, and just, it's coming from all of that. And then now too, we're about to sell and distribute 500 or so games to every player in the NBA. Like, it was just unfathomable. Like, I think there wasn't a moment in our journey where we even dreamed that.
Right.
Like our dream was like, let's get it to, we still have the dream of let's get it to every Black household, which is big in itself. But yeah, schools for sure. But yeah, the NBA was never even on the roadmap. So that was just dope. And if I can say one more last thing, one, uplifting the queen even more, but two, going back to the whole concept of how powerful it is to have a partner and to be married in this journey, because in another reality, I made the game, but I had that and I couldn't go to the reunion. So Jrue never got the game, and because Jrue never got the game in hand and got to see it, he never bought the 500, and then whatever other blessings are going to come after this whole NBA situation, we would have never got. In another reality, Sinclair may have been working her 9-to-5 job and she couldn't go to the thing. But the fact that in this reality that we've manifested today, she quit her 9-to-5 to go full-time and play Black Wall Street. She believed in myself, believed in the company enough to do that. She got over her, I don't want to be naturally social, and like, you know what? I'm going to go. I'm going to drive all the way out to LA. I'm going to represent our brand. I'm going to hand him a game, and I'm going to represent the company today and figure out what can happen, is leading to everything else afterwards. So, yeah, one, find yourself a partner, and two, persistence. Don't let that one barrier of, oh, I can't make it, so it's not going to happen. No, like, can your partner make it? Can you make it virtually? Can you reschedule? How can you make that blessing happen?
Yes, that's good.
No problem.
Man, what a story.
Come on. Look at her.
And y'all maintain the cornea. She's blushing. I love this. This is so sweet. This should have been the Valentine's Day episode at this point.
Hey, look, you can schedule it.
That part.
Hey, in order for me to schedule that, though, the listeners got to give y'all some love. People got to share this podcast episode, buy the board game, listen to y'all's podcast. This has been a fantastic episode so far. And before I close out, I just have a couple of quick hitters. But before I even get to the quick hitters, I just want to say, like, I'm so proud to see the journey from Kickstarter to now. Like, I will never forget looking at the Kickstarter, sharing the Kickstarter, and just to see you and hear both of you just talk about the NBA as just part of the, like, not even part of the dream, to being a key component of y'all's reality right now. I think that's just amazing. And just like the hard work that y'all put into this, like, I think, just want to say congratulations on behalf of all the listeners. And hopefully y'all also have taken plenty of time to really sit in that accomplishment too, because we're talking about the National Basketball Association here. Like, bonkers to me. Like, when I saw that, I was like, literally, oh, De'Von's made it. Sinclair made it. Like, y'all did the thing, because best believe I would just be telling everybody I saw, I go to McDonald's, let me get a number one. Yeah, my board game just got picked up by the National Basketball Association.
By the way,
how are you?
By the way, like, oh, what y'all doing later? Y'all trying to play this board game that the NBA, each NBA player own? I would have went right on MilwaukeeBucks.com, got me a Jrue Holiday jersey real quick.
Yep. So, I mean, I think we did have like a little moment to reflect and really be like, dang, this is dope. But I feel like the unfortunate thing is, and maybe I perceive it as unfortunate, but in order to really, capitalize and use the momentum of the partnership with the NBA, we now need to make sure that we're on podcast episodes, putting it more out. We need to make sure we're running ads. We need to create a whole bunch of video assets. We need to go back and forth with the JLH team on follow-up meetings and feedback. So I think we haven't had a real time to digest it yet, because we're still trying to make sure that that's not one moment, that we take one moment, we compound that into the millions, or compound that into the impact that we want to make. So we still got some more exciting things that we hope to do with other sports leagues, or we hope to do more with Jrue and Lauren Holiday, more with families. This was definitely a dope, not stepping stone, this was a milestone for Play Black Wall Street. But we'll take a nice long breather in March, and we can tell you what we're doing in March, maybe offline, unless the queen wants to tell you offline. But we're gonna take a nice breath and enjoy all the things in March.
But yeah, I think to your point, I think the other thing about it too is the reality is we do have a team of people who help support us, but like the day-to-day is us too. And so, we're already back to the grind, where literally tomorrow he's going to start going back into the schools and teaching, which is kind of the other big portion of our business, and kind of a shift that we made. And maybe that's a whole follow-up that we can come back on the podcast and talk about. but it's like back to the grind, right? Back to the stuff that's got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So, but we do absolutely need to kind of take a step back and strategize on how we really capitalize on this moment that has come. And again, to make sure it is not just a moment, right? To make sure that it is a stepping stone to something greater. Yeah.
Perfect. I think throughout this episode, there's been plenty of nuggets of wisdom and words of advice. But if I could ask each of you to give, quick thumbs up, like y'all do the podcasting thing. Y'all are naturals at this. But if you could give words of advice to someone who's looking to start a business with their partner, what would each of you say?
Let's
see. I want to think about it. They're gonna start a business with their partner.
I got mine.
Go ahead.
If I think this is something that anybody in a relationship should do, but I think it's even more critical if you're going to start a professional relationship now with your partner, is know who you are and know who the other person is. And I think one of the best ways to do that is through like assessments, right? It can be really simple, like the 5 love languages, that's free online. But even like a DISC assessment or a Myers-Briggs or like some type of there's 50 million different personality tests out there. I think what that does is, again, not only get to know you better, but it allows you to better delegate the roles in the business. So if I know he's this type of person and I'm this type of person, right? He's more of like the emotional, the energy, the driver, like he's the engine. Whereas I'm the thinker, I'm the analytical, I'm the the strategist. So those both have their strengths if we really harness them. And so I think that that wasn't something that we did before starting the business, but I think after we did, it definitely allowed us, I think, to go to the next level and allowed us to better delegate who's doing what. So it's not just random anymore. It's like, okay, this is a task that makes more sense for you or for me, or this role makes more sense for you or for me. I think that that's really critical if you're going to start a business with your partner, so that you can, again, it's going to help your personal relationship as well, but there's so much that goes into a professional relationship with your partner that I think that really helps, so you can kind of keep some of the emotional aspect out of it and, again, make really logical decisions on how your business should be run.
That's good.
Yeah, that's real good. So much time to think about.
I did. I'm trying to not say the same thing that you're saying.
That's why I went first. It was like I was like, this is good. I need
see how she do me, y'all. Hey.
It's the strategist.
What was that laugh?
I realized I was kind of sounding like an evil laugh, so I just capitalized on
it. I got you. You said that's the strategist. Yeah, very much so. So I was gonna say, just like having the clearly defined roles based on the gifts, based on your talents, which you covered very well. The next thing I would say is I like creating value-based businesses personally. So this is like businesses where we sit down and we literally kind of did this the other day. But like, these are our family values, right? Health, wealth, Afrocentricity, love, family. These are our family values that we hold dear to us. What business can we form that allows us to live in these principles, live in these values, provide value to the community while also generating income and generating wealth for us? So what I like to tell couples is figure out what do y'all like to do as a couple? For us, we like to travel. So something that we do, and we just did for New Year's, we did an M4 experience. All right. The M4 show, Melanated Married Millionaires. We did an M4 experience up in the Bay where folks from Atlanta came through. Shout out to y'all. We had people from Riverside, people from Lancaster, a few folks from Sacramento came, and we just had a nice, fun weekend talking about wealth, talking about our goals, making brunch, having fun, talking about love, talking about masculinity, talking about femininity. Like, it was a very holistic experience, and that's something that we would have done anyway, right? So now we're figuring out how can we create a larger platform so we can have these M4 experiences in Ghana, in Jamaica, in Costa Rica, in Nigeria, because that's something that we like to do. We love travel, we love food. So yeah, I would say, one, for that couple, what are your values? What are those core principles for y'all? Have those written down. Those can easily become your core principles for your business. And then 2, what are those activities that y'all like to do as a couple? And how can you actually monetize those specific activities?
Adding on to that, I guess a benefit, I think, to to choosing like a value-based business or creating a business that already encompasses something you like to do, it makes those hard days so much, I don't want to say easier because they're still hard, but probably less hard if it was a business you're not truly passionate about, right? If you were just doing a business strictly to make money, it makes it extremely hard to make it past those obstacles if you don't have a really strong why for what you're doing, why you're, you know, why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Whereas again, if you have like a value-based or something that you feel very strongly about together, or something that again you're already doing and now let's just monetize it, it makes those days a little bit easier to get through because we're doing something we love, right? Yeah. This planning group trips is not easy, but at the end of the day, it's like something we would have done anyways. So it's like if this is what we're going to call our business, then this is cool. We here, we live in
that part.
You know, traveling is something we're going to do anyway. So how can we figure out how to incorporate travel into our business, right? Mm-hmm. He's big on teaching and financial literacy and this impact. So, you know, on those days when it is not all sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. So on those days when it's really hard, we think back to, you know, the family, Bottles family, right? The him and his 9 kids playing for 4 hours and the impact that that's making. We think about the Aaliyahs, who's the now 14-year-old who started her own business. I just saw her pop up on Instagram somewhere. So like we think about those days, and I think it makes it so much easier to make it through those cloudy days, those obstacles. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What a beautiful way to end the podcast. I think there were a lot of great nuggets throughout the episode, a lot that I learned, a lot that inspired me. So I'm going to claim that it's been $1 billion day thanks to this episode of the podcast. Yeah. Before I let both of you go and enjoy the rest of your evening, the final question is just where can people find you and how can people support you?
Queen's lead.
I'll go with the podcast. So one more plug for the podcast, the Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making, aka the M4 Show. You can go to www.them4show.com. That is THE, the number M, the letter M, the number 4, and then show.com. And you can see everywhere where our podcast is housed, as well as our YouTube channel, more about us, all that fun stuff.
Yes, ma'am. And then after you follow the M4 show, definitely make sure y'all tap in and go to playblackwallstreet.com. Playblackwallstreet.com. It is spelled the way you think it's spelled. And on there, you can tap into our YouTube channel, our Instagram account, and everything like that. We like to give people very, very direct action items, right? Go to that website, follow everything. Go to this website, follow everything. And we look forward to tapping in with y'all.
Perfect. Nice and to the point. For the homies listen to this podcast, if you want to play Black Wall Street, the 2nd edition, y'all know where to find me. But De'Von Sinclair, I want to thank y'all for y'all's time this evening. This was a fantastic episode. Y'all got me ready to run through a wall and get some things going. So I want to thank y'all for tuning into this episode of the Banquet Hall, and we'll catch y'all on the flip side.
Peace.